Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Jose.
Hi, Candace. Missy, Jose.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Good. Need a comb, apparently. Here. Good to see y'all. You had a nice Mardi Gras.
Yeah. I actually went away for the first time for Mardi Gras. It was fun.
Oh. Anywhere exciting or?
It was Austin, Texas. So
Nice.
took my daughter to a resort. So she had loads of fun. I was exhausted.
I used to live there. It's a great place.
Oh, really? Yeah, we had fun.
We're working there trying to create a TOD plan for their zoning code right now, actually. So they're building massive new light rail lines.
Yeah, they have a lot going on there.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Tamara. Yeah, Alfonso.
Hey, Tamara.
Are we going to be coming back in person at some point, you think, this year?
Yes. I think the next meeting is going to be in person.
Really?
Yeah. It looks like from all evidence that the governor is going to remove the emergency declaration on the 16th.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've alerted Bob and the other people in charge of boards and commissions of this. And we've been working with the health department to kind of create a plan. But you know, once the emergency declaration is over, we don't have the authorization to use Zoom meetings anymore. So just plan on next month meeting being in the council chambers.
All right, I can finally make sure you guys are all real people. Let's see. Tomorrow I can confirm. Good
morning, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and let everybody else into the waiting room and into the meeting, and we'll get started in just a moment.
All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. We'll start with roll call. This is the BZA March 7th Board of Zoning Adjustments meeting. Candace Forrest.
Present.
Todd James is absent. Tamara Aggins.
Present.
Jose Alvarez.
Present.
Ramiro Diaz, is absent. Alfonso Gonzalez.
Present. And Todd will be joining us a little late.
Thank you. And Matt Rufo.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to defer the approval of the February 7th meetings until the next meeting. Would the board make a motion to defer adopting the minutes from the February 7th meeting?
So moved.
Other seconds.
you.
It's been moved by Commissioner Gonzalez, second by Commissioner Alvarez. A roll call vote. Tamara Eggins,
Yes.
Jose Alvarez,
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez,
Yay.
Matthew Rufo,
Yes.
and Candace Forrest. Yes. 5 yeas, no nays. The motion carries.
Thank you. In accordance with the adopted hearing rules, the public comment form link is available on the city's Granicus website.
We haven't read the rules yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so ahead of myself. Excuse me. Would the chair please read the special hearing rules for adoption?
Sure.
Thank
Special public hearing rules for Board of Zoning Adjustments hearings held via video conference. Order of business. The order of business at the hearing shall be as follows. Call to order and roll call with recording of members present. Approval of minutes, reading and adoption of the hearing rules, presentation of dockets, which include staff presentation, applicant presentation, and questions from members. Recess for 30 minutes. Consideration of dockets, which includes public comment, rebuttal by applicant, questions from members, and voting, and adjournment. Presentation of dockets. The order of business for each docket shall be as follows. Presentation by the City Planning Commission staff or the Department of Safety and Permit staff. Presentation by the applicant or their representative. The appellant or applicant may appear on their behalf or be represented by a duly authorized agent. Only one representative may speak on behalf of a request and must pre-register with the staff of the City Planning Commission. Other representatives or speakers may sign up to provide comments during the public comment portion of the meeting. The applicant shall be allowed a maximum of 5 minutes. Questions from members. The members have an opportunity to ask questions of the staff or applicant. Recess. The board shall take a 30-minute recess to allow members of the public to submit comments. Public comment. Rules. Only written public comment will be allowed. Live public comment will not be allowed. No member of the public may submit more than one written comment per agenda item. Time allowed for public comment. The public comment form will be made available at the start of the meeting and will close at the end of the 30-minute recess. Form. Public comments must be submitted electronically on the form provided by the City Planning Commission. Any comment missing this information will not be read aloud. Each submission must contain the commenter's first and last name, the commenter's address, whether the commenter is being paid in connection with his or her comments, and the agenda item. Reading of public comments. A moderator will read into the record all comments pertaining to that item that have been submitted in accordance with these rules. Comments will be read aloud in a normal speaking voice. The moderator will discontinue reading a comment once it exceeds 2 minutes. Rebuttal by applicant. Following the public comment period, if there is opposition, the authorized representative of the application is allowed a rebuttal not to exceed 5 minutes. Questions from members. Following the public comment and rebuttal, the members have an opportunity to ask questions of the staff or applicant. Voting. Making a motion. The member making a motion shall clearly state their name when making a motion. For example, I, Candace Forrest, move to approve or deny the request. Seconding a motion. The member seconding a motion shall clearly state their name when seconding the motion. For example, I, Candace Forrest, second the motion made by other member. Statement by chair. The chair will restate the motion, confirming who made and seconded the motion. Voting. The chair will request a verbal vote from each member by roll call. Each member will indicate yay to vote in support of the motion or nay to vote in opposition. This concludes the special hearing rules. Is there a motion to adopt the special public hearing rules?
Rufo, so moved.
Alfonso, second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Rufo, second by Commissioner Gonzalez to adopt the special public hearing rules. Roll call vote. Tamara Eggins,
Yes.
Jose Alvarez,
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez,
Yay.
Matthew Rufo,
Yes.
and Candace Forrest. Yes. 5 yeas, no nays. The motion carries.
Thank you. Now, in accordance with the adopted hearing rules, the public comment form link is available on the city's Granicus website, as well as nola.gov/CPC. It will be available until the end of the recess, after which public comments will be read into record as a part of consideration of dockets. As a reminder to applicants, the action that the board takes today will be released in the form of a disposition notice by March 17th and sent via email and mail to the applicant, as well as posted on the One Stop app for other interested parties. Requests that the board votes to approve must show compliance with any noted provisos before the case is finalized and granted final approval. Item number 1, BZA 00422 was withdrawn by the applicant. So we will begin with new business for variances. The next item is BZA 009-22 for the property at 2518 Arch Street. We have Angela Morton signed up to speak on behalf of this application. And following the staff's presentation, you will have 5 minutes to present. Sabine?
Good morning. This request is for a property that is located at 2518 Arch Street for variances from the provisions of Article 11, Section 11(3)(a)(1) of the CZO to permit an addition to an existing primary educational facility, resulting in insufficient front yard setbacks and insufficient front yard built-to lines. The required front yard setback and front yard built-to lines on the north Dorset west side of the property is 20 feet. And on the Law Street side of the property is 25.15 feet. The applicant is proposing to build canopies all the way to the front property lines on both sides, which require waivers of 20 feet and 25.15 feet respectively. The staff believes that the requested variances fail to meet 2 of the 9 criteria of the standards for variances of the CZO, in that the property regulations will not result in a demonstrable hardship, and the change is exclusively for the convenience and profit of the owner. Therefore, we are recommending denial of the requested variances. And just as a note, we have, in the event that the board was to recommend approval, we have 1 additional proviso that we are recommending in addition to the standard proviso. We can go into that later when the time comes.
Thank you, Sabine. Angela Morton, you now have 5 minutes to present.
Great, thank you. My name is Angela Morton. I'm with Mathis Breer Architects, representing Encore Learning, who's the property. This property is the school for the same. And reading through the staff report, just a couple of comments for the board on that. Appreciated the look at adjacent schools or school church facilities. And as the staff report noted, majority of those had internal circulation, which allowed for bus pickup to happen in a covered way within the setbacks. Of those, there's only 1 other school comparable that was also a historic school. So as far as hardship, the case that we made to meet the criteria had to do with the fact that this is a unique property and that this is a school. This is not a private business or residential area. And in that uniqueness, and it being a school that renovated a historic building, they have that challenge, which is they do not have the benefit of having internal circulation to the property because of the historic nature of this school. So that's the request, as other schools are, and especially new schools that are required to have off-street loading and busing capabilities. The school cannot because of the historic footprint and those setbacks. So the 2 requested canopy covers are also on the side streets, so it's not affecting the architectural integrity of Arch Street, which is the front entrance. And that was also by design to make sure that they would have minimal impact on the neighborhood. And further mention that we are in a historic residential neighborhood, which does have the ability to have a 0 lot line setback for residential properties. Because the school has the entirety of the block, that is the reason for the larger setbacks on these, quote unquote side streets, not the main front entrance, but the side streets of the property. There was another school that did have a similar condition where a variance was granted, and I think Sabine touched on that earlier. That's the Audubon and Tilley school, and that is slightly outside of the 2-mile radius. But in that case, for the for the safety of the students and getting to buses and preventing them from slip and falls and because of the length. Lastly, I wanted to point out coming to the property line still leaves more than 16 feet because of the width of the right-of-ways on both streets before the students enter the buses, which was the reason why the school did not ask to proceed with this variance, to try to minimize that distance in every way for the safety of the students in accessing buses and carpool lanes on those two sides. I believe that's everything we need to talk to, and I'll be happy to take any questions later if there are. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members?
A question for staff. I apologize if the report addresses this directly, but I didn't see it. The requested waiver is for a waiver on the front yard setback, but we're talking about canopies on the side streets.
So
What am I
to
missing?
clarify that, yes, yes and no. Technically, yes, they are all front yards because it's an entire square. So all four sides of the property are considered.
They're all considered front yards.
Yes, setbacks. But the front of the building itself architecturally fronts on Art Street, and the two canopies that are proposed are on Dorgenlois and Law Street, which are the side of the campus.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll just add a question. What is the proviso in the case of an acceptance?
Yeah, so I actually suggested this because it was a proviso that was adopted in the approval of the other variance case that was granted in 2018, which was very similar to this one. Essentially, the proviso states that if the variance is granted, that it does not create a new setback requirement. Typically, once you have if a portion of a building is located on the property line, it could set a precedent for future addition to the building to now be able to go all the way to the front property line. So the proviso would just prevent that. Let me read it to you. I'm just looking for it states the variance approval is for the canopies only and does not have the effect of expanding the buildable area of the primary structure. The applicant shall file a deed restriction on the title of the property, indicating that the front building lines be restricted to the setback requirement of the CZO and shown on the revised plans, and that no additions of the primary structure be permitted in the required yards.
Okay, that is so basically, if we were to let them move forward with it, it would not allow them to do anything more in the future, and they'd be restricted to just doing the canopies right now.
Yeah, like the rest of any future addition would be still restricted to the regular setback, which is 20 feet.
I just had a quick question to clarify, Ms. Morton. I think you kind of were touching on it at the end of your comments. The staff report mentioned in the discussion on demonstrable hardship that there was an alternative location where the canopies could be, but that it wasn't as convenient. And I know you were making mention of the buses, and I was just trying to understand logistically why this particular location for the canopies was chosen.
Sure. So right now there are 3 main historic exits to the school building, and it also has to do with the traffic circulation to minimize traffic in this residential neighborhood to separate carpool and bus traffic on 2 different streets. So I'm looking at a site plan right now, and the canopy is directly out of the 2 historic side doors of the campus right now. So what we were trying to do was minimize impact to the historic building and utilize the pathway directly out of the building. So it's the smallest possible footprint to safely get kids out of the school building directly to the street location. It's also, they're also both luckily far enough from the corner where buses can stop safely and park. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from board members?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if in case that the restriction is move forward, Ms. Morton, do you have any issues with that?
No, Encore is fine with that deed restriction.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we can go to the next item.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is BZA docket 01022 for the property at 4144 through 4146 Bienville Avenue. We have David LaBeouf signed up to speak on behalf of this application. And following the staff's presentation, you will have 5 minutes to present. Now, I don't believe Larry is on the call at the moment. So BZA 01022 is a request for the property at 4144 Bienville Avenue. This request is for variances from the provisions of Article 21, Section 21.6.n.1 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to permit the construction of a fence with excessive height. The CZO limits fence height in National Register historic districts to 7 feet. The applicant is proposing a fence that is 8 feet in height, necessitating a waiver of 1 foot in height. This is an after-the-fact request, and based on the findings of the report, the staff believes that the requested variances of Article 21, Section 21.6N1A, fence height, fails to meet 7 of the 9 criteria of the standards for variances of Article 4, Section 4.6F of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, and that there are no special circumstances which are peculiar to the land. Literal interpretation of the ordinance would not deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the district. The special circumstances were caused by the applicant. The variance will confer on the applicant special privileges. The property regulations will not result in a demonstrable hardship. The change is exclusively for the convenience and profit of the owner, and the variance will not endanger, the variance will endanger public safety. Therefore, the staff recommends denial of the requested variances. The applicant now has 5 minutes to present.
Thank you for your time and good morning. So kind of the backstory on this fence is post Ida, I called the city to get guidance on this fence for a permit. At the time, I didn't realize you didn't even need a permit to build a fence. And I was told there was a moratorium on permits and to build away. So I followed the overall city guidelines of an 8-foot fence for one reason, that lot is under contract to be sold currently. So it will be graded up when the new construction is built. A new home is being built. It's a home construction loan. So once that land is graded correctly, it will be closer to 7 feet from the fence, from the ground, excuse me. As far as the variance numbers, the 2 that I want to focus on that were met were this fence will not alter the essential character of the locality, which I believe is the kind of the HUD rule in the historic district, right? And will not be injurious to public welfare or cause harm or improvements to the neighborhood. Again, the lot is under contract to be sold. It is a construction loan with a new home that will be built, which the 9th variance, impeding light and air, the public safety, will become a moot point because there is a multi-story residence being built on that lot. In addition, I have 10 of the 11 neighbors who are directly adjacent to the property who have given me no opposition or outright support for that. I have their names and addresses. I can read those off to you if you'd like. The only one that I was not able to reach is out of the country, but she and I have had several interactions. She's never complained to me about the height of the fence or anything related to it. In fact, she actually hired the guy I had build the fence to build her fence next door. So the last thing I want to say is there is historical precedence for this. There's been 12 requests for this same type variance in the neighborhood or in a similar neighborhood in the city since 2015. 6 were approved or partially approved, 4 were withdrawn, and only 2 were outright denied. So I'll open it up for any questions from the council.
Are there any questions or comments from board members? Just one question, Mr. LaBeouf. In reviewing your responses to the 9 criteria. When we look at hardship, financial considerations are not one of the reasons to grant, to see that there's a hardship. And that was the only indication that you indicated the cost in making a change to the fence. Was there anything other than cost prohibiting bringing the fence down by 1 foot?
I also had to get rear access to all of my neighbors on David Street's yards, which they're obviously opposed to, because I will have to take the top runners down. I'll basically have to take the whole fence down from behind and put it back up together to take 1 foot off, because the runners are running at 7 feet. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a problem. Again, the lot itself will be graded up, and once it will be close to 7 feet, from the ground. So if I were to have to make the changes after that process is undertaken, it would be a very simple process. So that's another issue.
Okay.
And the reason why it was a very important to get it done was because the previous fence was damaged, and I had my dog had multiple ways to get out, so I had to get the fence put up quickly. And when they gave me a moratorium on the permit, I just went ahead and built it at 8 because I knew we'd be building on that lot.
So there's property on the lot now, or is it vacant?
Is currently a vacant lot. Yeah.
Okay.
And the fence does not face the street at all.
Okay.
It's just a perimeter fence on the outside edges. Any other questions? I think it's pretty straightforward.
I have a question for someone on staff who can provide more information about this moratorium that was described by the applicant after Ida, in which.
Well, I'll tell you.
Wait, I'm not finished. So the safety and permits said at some point that we're not giving permits, so build whatever you like. Like that's basically what I heard you say. And
it was directly
that can't be right.
It was directly post Ida. So I think they were waiving a lot of permits. A question
for staff, actually. Sorry, it's for staff. Can someone on staff explain to me this moratorium and in a little bit more detail about the nature of it? Was it for a certain length of time? Were applicants told, okay, we're not providing permits, so you can build whatever you like?
We would have to verify with the Department of Safety and Permits. I know that they were a bit behind on issuing permits, and they were letting applicants know that at one time. But as far as the specifics, we would have to check in with them.
Yeah, Mr. Rufo, I can expand on that because I asked Mr. Massey about it, who was my planner, and it actually became a moot point because there aren't even permits needed for fences apparently. But I did call to get proper guidance and was told, we're not basically built because, like she said, it was an overwhelming amount post Ida.
And permits are not required for simply constructing a fence or replacing a fence?
That's what Mr. Massey told me in correspondence. Yeah. And I can forward that to you if you want to take a look.
That's our understanding.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, we can go to the next item.
The next item is BZA docket 011-22 for the property at 2209 St. Bernard Avenue. Colin Felsman is signed up to speak on behalf of this application, and following the staff presentation, you will have 5 minutes to present. Rachel.
BZA 1122 is a request for a variance from the provisions of Article 22, Section 22.4.a, Table 22.1 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to permit the construction of a single-family residence with insufficient off-street parking. Article 22, Section 22.4.a, Table 22.1 requires single-family residences to provide 1 off-street parking space. The applicant is requesting a variance of this parking space to create a single-family residence without off-street parking. There are 2 physical impediments located in the front of this interior lot that create a scenario where the construction of a driveway is infeasible. There is both an Entergy utility pole that cannot be moved and a live oak tree. Curb cuts are prohibited over the critical root zone of any tree in accordance with Article 22, Section 22.11.b.3 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. The Department of Parks and Parkways confirmed that the creation of a driveway under these circumstances is not possible without an expectation of hitting critical structural roots. Without a variance for parking, the applicant would either need to remove a live oak tree, which staff confirmed would not be approved by the Department of Parks and Parkways, or would be precluded from developing a residence on this property. The applicant is intending to construct an affordable single-family residence during a severe housing crisis. Based on this report, the staff believes the requested variance of Article 22, Section 22.4.a, Table 22.1, meets 9 of the 9 criteria of the standards for variances of Article 4, Section 4.6.f of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. Therefore, the staff recommends approval of this requested variance, subject to 2 provisos.
Thank you. The applicant, Colin Felsman, you now have 5 minutes to present.
Thank you so much. And thanks, Rachel. I think Rachel said it eloquently and expertly, so I'll keep this short and sweet and save you all time. As Rachel laid out, we ended up in a curious situation where, because a neighbor added a second and potentially unpermitted parking spot, utility pole was moved onto our lot. As a result, despite already having approved building plans that include a parking spot, we can no longer comply with those. And we're faced with this trade-off between either not building a home and leaving the lot vacant, or getting a variance. So as Rachel laid out, we meet all 9 criteria. We've made every effort to figure out another way to site a parking space on that lot, and would be open to doing so. But after consulting with both Entergy and with the Department of Parks, we couldn't find one. So I'm open to any questions, and thanks very much for your.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, we can go to the next item.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next item is BZA docket 011222 for the property at 722 Washington Avenue. Not sure if the applicant is on the call for this one, but after the staff presentation, you will have 5 minutes to present. Brennan?
Good morning. This has been the property at 722 Washington, docket 1222. It has been deferred in order for zoning to have more time to make a determination on whether the setback they are requesting would be necessary. So we were requesting a 30-day deferral.
Thank you. And the applicant is not on the call, is that correct?
Oh, I'm on the call. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, I'm here.
Yes. All right. You have
no
5
objections
minutes
to
to
the
present.
deferral.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, we can go to the next item.
Thank you. The next item is BZA docket 013-22 for the property at 412 New Orleans Hammond Highway. Thomas Desermo is signed up to speak on behalf of this application, and following the staff presentation, you will have 5 minutes to present. This is a request for variances from the provisions of Article 22, Section 2211B1, to permit a circular drive with a parking space located in the required minimum front yard on a lot with insufficient width and more than 1 curb cut. The applicant is seeking variances to permit more than 1 curb cut where there is only 1 permitted, a circular drive where circular drives are not permitted, front yard parking where front yard parking is not permitted, and 50 feet in lot width is required for circular driveways, thus just necessitating a waiver of 10 feet. The fence, located on the adjacent corner is constructed of brick, wood, and concrete which would have the potential to obstruct the view of oncoming traffic from a driver attempting to back out safely from the petition site. The staff believes that this is a circumstance that is a special circumstance that is not applicable to other properties around the surrounding area. And based on the report, the staff believes that the requested waivers meet 9 of the 9 criteria of the standards of variances for Article 4, Section 4.6F, and therefore the staff recommends approval of the requested variances subject to 3 provisos. Applicant now has 5 minutes to present. Not sure if he's even on.
You're on mute, sir. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can y'all hear me now? Sorry about that.
Yes, we can.
I kind of lost my voice with a sinus infection, but I'm going to do my best. The main reason I'm asking for this is because on Roy Street, somehow the subdivision changed and like the brick fence is built all the way. So even if we put a driveway to the left side, we're always going to have to back out of the driveway on the old Hammond. And cars are coming over the bridge. Like there's no shoulder there and it's really dangerous. Many of the, I know there's like concrete rules and all those other things. Also, we propose putting in pavers so that way it would meet the water requirement, which looks better than concrete. I don't know. It's mainly just to turn around is why I'm asking. I don't know a better way to get out of that lot being so narrow. If like I pulled in trucks to try to get out, it's really hard because when you back up, the fence is just up against the sidewalk there. And then when you look down, the cars in the right-hand lane are coming 30, 40 miles per hour over the bridge from Jefferson Parish. I don't know how Roy got to build that. I guess up against the property line. I guess it was the way the subdivision was divided years ago. I kind of looked around. Most of the lots on Old Hammond Highway, I think they old, but there's like 3 or 4 the neighbors down the street all have turnaround. You know, I don't know if it was because of this. I think it was probably granted because of just prior. I don't know though for sure. But I don't, you know, that's the main reason for it. It's just safety concerns. Trying to access the property. And leaving the property mostly.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, we can go to the next item.
The next item is BZA docket 014-22 for the property at 505 Washington Avenue and 2725 Brett Street.
Thank you.
Sorry. I'm sorry, go ahead, Emily. Go ahead.
BCA 01422 is a request for a variance from the provisions of Article 22, Section 22.4a, Table 22-1, to permit the construction of a child care center with insufficient off-street parking. The proposed child care center is required to provide 23 off-street parking spaces, 1 per 500 square feet of gross floor area, and is requesting a waiver of 23 spaces. The staff believes that the requested variance fails to meet standards 1 and 6 of the standards for variance of Article 4, Section 4.6F, and that there are no special circumstances peculiar to the land. And 6, the property regulations will not result in a demonstrable hardship. Therefore, the staff recommends denial of the requested variance.
The applicant now has 5 minutes to present.
Thank you, Valerie and Emily, and thank you for the time from the board to hear this case. I'm Bahari Javadi with Concordia Architects, and I'm representing the owners and this project for this hearing. So due to the building area available on this site, the required off-street parking spaces can't be accommodated while also maintaining minimum setbacks, open space requirements, and meeting the child care's minimum programmatic and operational requirements to manage a maximum of 2 stories with an ADA accessible ground floor that serves infants and toddlers. Additionally, since curbside drop-off will be provided along the Farette Street side, staff parking needs can be accommodated by a ton of underutilized off-street parking that is available at the adjacent Harmony Oaks Community Center and KIPP Central City Academy next door. There's also plenty of street parking available along both Farette and Washington Avenue blocks. So we don't anticipate the neighborhood's parking demands being impacted by this variance. In terms of special circumstances and demonstrable hardship called out in the report, if we were to comply fully with the CZO's parking guidelines, we would need to dedicate half of the site to parking and therefore be allowed to serve only half of the number of children at this childcare facility. Wilcox Academy currently has another childcare center in Central City where they're at capacity and have a long wait list for more children that they can't currently accommodate. Based on our community engagement and NPP process, we have evidence that the demand for high quality, affordable childcare far outweighs the demand for parking in this neighborhood. We've received no objections and have documented support from neighbors and community members for the approval of this variance and for this project to move forward. We also have received endorsement from Councilmember Leslie Harris. Additionally, per the BZA's staff report, most of the similarly situated childcare centers in this area do not meet off-street parking requirements, and other similarly situated projects have been granted parking waivers. So there is precedent for this kind of request being approved for similarly situated projects within the zoning district. Granting this parking variance would allow this new facility to be built to better fit into the residential neighborhood fabric by limiting its height and maintaining a pedestrian-friendly design, and ultimately serve the childcare needs in this community. Thank you so much for your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members?
Question, doesn't the city permit, doesn't the CZO here permit shared parking arrangement to accommodate the needed spaces? Mentioned using neighboring school facility parking as that, if that is possible to fulfill that. Is there an agreement not in place that's supposed to be in place? That what's the story there?
I had the same question.
Yeah.
Is that a question for me or for Emily?
Let's do both.
Probably starting with Emily, just to make sure that that is the case, and then finding out what would need to happen in order for that to be considered.
And if I understood correctly, Bahara, when you gave the presentation, you mentioned it's actually the community center, not the school, correct?
Well, both of them have parking lots with underutilized spaces.
Okay.
So yeah, and they're both right next door.
Okay.
Have you had any conversations with KIPP Central City?
Yeah, so the conversations with both KIPP and Harmony Oaks are ongoing. The owner, Ms. Rochelle Wilcox, is actively working with them to figure out how many spaces they can share with the childcare center. So we don't yet have a confirmed number of spaces, but those conversations are ongoing. Additionally, and this is something that I discussed with Emily when we were putting this together, in terms of the shared spaces, we still need to find out. So we know that the parking lots are underutilized and are never full, but the thing that we need to confirm is how many parking spaces are required by those respective uses, the community center and the school, to make sure that we're not reducing the minimum number of parking that's required by those
And that's what I was going to ask from Emily, because I felt like even though they have spaces that are not used, I don't know what their requirements were and didn't want to take spaces from them that would then make them under the minimum that they would need. So is it possible, Emily, that there would be sufficient spaces from the neighboring properties that this applicant could utilize and still everybody still be in compliance?
It's possible, and you know, like Bahar was saying, we need to just know what the requirements are for Harmony Oaks, what the requirement is for the school. The CZO allows for both alternating parking arrangements as well as collective parking. Alternating is, you know, for those uses where, you know, perhaps one use would be functioning more during the day and another at night. In the case of, you know, this proposed childcare center and the school, those are kind of operating at the same time. And I'm not sure how safety and permits would view the residential use at Harmony Oaks. I don't think that an alternating parking arrangement would be something that would work for this particular situation. But if we do find that Harmony Oaks and or the school provide parking above what is required, then you know, the applicant and them could work on an agreement that would ultimately have to be recorded. And you know, if there are, you know, for example, if the board were to approve the requested variance for 23 spaces and ultimately an arrangement is worked out where you know, less than that, but still some spaces are being accommodated on a different site, you know, the waiver I think would still stand. And Missy, I don't think, would there need to be any sort of modification to the waiver if it's ultimately being used for less spaces at the end of the day? Does that make sense?
What do you mean? But what I'm kind of.
Yeah. So, for example, if we find that KIP and Harmony Oaks provide excess parking, so say they have 22 spaces combined in excess that could be used by this childcare center. If a waiver is granted for 23 spaces, there would just be sort of that one lingering parking space that would be authorized through the variance process if it's approved. Would there be any need to modify the board's approval if some sort of collective parking arrangement is agreed upon later?
Yeah, so if it's within the scope of what the board grants, then no, but if it's outside of the scope, then yes. So it just depends on that.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask a different question. I didn't know if we had to make a decision now or if we needed to give the applicant time to see what the parking arrangement could be, you know, before we made a decision. I didn't know, that was going to be my question. Do we even need to decide today?
That it can be deferred.
Right. So just one thing, I think that's kind of important. And look, I'm not trying to digress from the initial question. Consideration of that community center and when that school both came online, those are all post-Katrina facilities. And a lot of those projects came online when parking requirements, basically anyone who did any type of development in that area, they did what was the requirement. And more often than not, a lot of these schools still ask for parking waivers. So like the all likelihood of that school having supplemental parking, just based off what's on the map, it's only 30 spots shown. They do not have additional parking provided for enough spaces additional for them to do it. Even looking at the community center, and I'm looking at the standard use table for off-street parking requirements. This is saying, sorry, of course, it's what happens when you use a little screen. When we get into the community centers, it was like there's 300, the first parking spot, then it's 1 per 300 or however many square feet it is for that 4 spaces plus 1 per 300 square feet of gross floor area of over the first 1,000 square feet. When we get into those types of numbers, the likelihood of us seeing supplemental is going to be ill to none. I know we would need to still have it verified in some capacity, but I think a large part of that was taken into consideration when we see how this report was drafted. Another thing with utilization in that area, I would direct a lot of people to just kind of look at what's happening with A.L. Davis Park. More often than not, the parking spaces around that park are not really utilized during the course of the day. So I think a lot of what we see in front of us kind of leads us there. I know we're still dealing with those last 2 remaining criteria, but this is just one of those projects that just seems pretty straightforward in terms of what's in front of us right now. Really isn't far-fetched from what would happen otherwise. Trying to ask for them to figure out spaces all over the place is just going to be more of a burden, and who knows, as early childhood development increases in this area, or at least the need and the demand for it, you're only going to see more requirements for additional off-street parking, or not necessarily parking, just square footage space for these type of projects to grow. So I'm gonna leave my anecdotal part off at that.
Yeah, and I only brought up because the conversation came up. I mean, and it was just to give if there was a possibility, obviously any ability to have some off-street parking is ideal, particularly, thinking about, pickups and drop-offs. So any type of parking would be ideal. So that was just my only reason for even exploring the option.
And just real quick, Bahara, I know from the traditional code, for this type of facility, you guys are still required to have like X amount of square footage of green space per kid or per classroom, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So, and that's what I was referring to when I was saying, if we were to dedicate half of this site to parking, we wouldn't be able to meet those other standards for green space, for open space, the zoning setbacks, the height requirements, and then the minimum programmatic needs.
Yeah, because you're limited to the number of floors you could build because of the age group. You're limited in terms of how many kids you can serve if you don't have adequate open or exterior space for it. And I mean, if you guys look at the building plan, you see how all of the rooms have to discharge directly to the exterior of the site. That's another thing that's driven by DOE and building codes, just based on the ages that they're serving. A lot of this is being driven by the limitation of the size of this site. So, I mean, I get it why a lot of questions are being asked, but I think there's a lot of ancillary drivers on what's necessary for early childhood to occur at this site.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we can go to the next item.
Thank you. The next item is BZA docket 01522 for the property at 4046 through 4048 Chef Mentor Highway. I don't know if we have a speaker signed up or on the call for this application, but if we do, you have 5 minutes after the staff presentation to present. Valerie?
Yeah, so BZA 1522 is a request for the variances from the provisions of Article 15, Section 15.3.8.1, and Article 15, Section 15.3.8.2 of the CZO to permit the construction of a gas station with insufficient front yard setback and insufficient front yard build to line. So during the staff's review, it was determined that additional waivers are needed in regards to the site's permeability and our building transparency and orientation. So therefore, the staff is requesting a 30-day referral to allow the applicant to provide updated site plans.
Thank you. Is there an applicant on the line?
I don't see anyone.
Valerie, are you aware of whether your applicant was planning to join?
No, I don't think they're joining today. We do have a meeting scheduled later today to make sure they know how to move forward with the process.
Okay. Well, if they're not on, I guess we can go to the next item.
Thank you. The board may wish to consolidate items 9 and 10 BZA dockets 016-22 and 017-22 as they are in conjunction with the same subdivision case. You want to?
So we would need a motion to consolidate the two items. Is there a motion?
Alfonso, so moved.
Mara Egan, second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Gonzalez, second by Commissioner Eggins to consolidate BZA dockets 016-22 and 017-22. Roll call vote. Todd James.
Sorry. Yay.
Tamara Eggins.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Matthew Rufo.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest, yes. 6 yeas, no nays. The motion carries, and the two items are now consolidated.
Thank you. So the next two items, BZA docket 016-22 and 017-22, are in conjunction with, I'm not sure which subdivision this is, for the property at 1839 Louisa Street. We have Angel Davis signed up to speak on behalf of this application. And following the staff presentation, you will have 5 minutes to present. Joseph.
Yes, good morning. BZA dockets 16-22 and 17-22 are requests for variances from the provisions of Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1, Table 11-2A of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance in conjunction with subdivision docket 002-22 to re-subdivide existing lot 1-A to permit the creation of two new proposed lots, lot 1-A-1 and lot 1-A-2 with insufficient lot area and insufficient lot depth. In accordance with the aforementioned article, lots in the HURD2 district are required to have a minimum lot area of 2,250 square feet and a minimum lot depth of 90 feet. The applicant is proposing lot 1A and lot 1A, is proposing lot 1A-1 and lot 1-A-2 to both have lot areas of 2,201 square feet and lot depths of 71 feet. These conditions are deficient by 49 square feet and 19 feet respectively, and thus non-compliant. The applicant is therefore requesting waivers from the standards as listed in Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1. Based on the staff report, the staff believes that both of these requests do satisfy all 9 criteria as they pertain to the requested variances of lot area and lot depth. Therefore, the staff does recommend approval of the requested variances subject to 3 waivers each.
Thank you. Ms. Davis, you have 5 minutes to present.
I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I have no objections to the information. If there's any questions for me, please feel free.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments from board members? Seeing none, we can go to the next item.
Again, the board may wish to consolidate items 11 and 12, BZA dockets 018-22 and 019-22 as they are also in conjunction with the same subdivision case.
It's James. So moved.
Alfonso, second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Gonzalez to consolidate BZA dockets 018-22 and 019-22. Roll call vote. Todd James.
Yay.
Tamara Eggins.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Matthew Rufo.
Yes.
and Candace Forrest, yes. 6 yeas, no nays. The motion carries, and the items are now consolidated.
These two subdivision cases, these two BZA cases are in conjunction with the subdivision for the property at 5,000 Laurel Street and 632 Robert Street. We have Christy or David, I believe that's Brett Cruz, signed up to speak on behalf of this application. And following the staff presentation, you will have 5 minutes to present. Robin. You're on mute, Robin.
Sorry. Okay, 1822 and 1922 are requests for waivers from Article 11, Section 11.3A1 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to permit the creation of proposed lot B1 and B2 with insufficient lot depth and insufficient lot area, and also an insufficient rear yard setback for proposed lot B1. As currently configured, the subject property, existing lot B, is a rectangular corner lot located uptown in the West Riverside neighborhood, where it features approximately 74 feet of frontage along Laurel Street, 85 or 86, approximately 86 feet of frontage along Robert Street, and approximately 6,276 square feet in area. It's developed with a single family dwelling and 2 accessory buildings that are to be demolished. The applicant is seeking variances to permit the creation of these two lots, B1, a proposed lot B1 with insufficient lot depth and insufficient rear yard setback, and proposed lot B2 with insufficient lot depth and insufficient lot area. While lots featuring substandard depths are not uncommon in the immediate area, they are few enough in number as to preclude them from representing a prevailing or predominant development pattern. In a similar vein, lots with insufficient rear yard setbacks are not uncommon in the immediate area, but neither can they be deemed a prevailing or predominant development pattern. The purpose of the variance is to afford the applicant relief from the requirements of the letter of this ordinance when unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty exists. The Board of Zoning Adjustments may authorize a variance only when the evidence presented supports a finding that each case indicates all 9 of the approval criteria put forth at Article 4, Section 4.6F of the CVO. Similarly, lots, I'm trying to read from 2 reports because I didn't realize they'd be consolidated. Please bear with me. Similarly, regarding proposed lot B2, lots with substandard square footage are not uncommon in the immediate area, but again, are few enough in number as to preclude them from representing a prevailing or predominant development pattern. And this, and as mentioned with the other, proposed lot, the same is true for the depth, for an insufficient depth. Regarding lot depth, the staff believes that the requested variance for proposed lot B1 fails to meet 5 of the criteria for the standards for variances of Article 4, Section 4.6F, in that there are no special circumstances which are peculiar to the land. Literal interpretation of the ordinance will not provide the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by properties in the district. The special circumstances were caused by the applicant. The property regulations will not result in a demonstrable hardship, and the change is exclusively for the convenience or property of the owner. Therefore, the staff recommends denial of both requested variances. Regarding lot depth for proposed lot B2, the request fails to meet the same requirements as the other one, plus one more. The staff found that in addition to the 5 that were cited for the other lot, this request for proposed lot B2 will in fact confer on the applicant a special privilege. Therefore, the staff recommends denial of both requested variances for proposed lot B2 as well.
Arvin, we have, I believe, David.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. You have 5 minutes to present.
Thank you. And thank you, Robin. My name is David Bright Cruz and my wife, Christy. We're the property owners at 5000 Laurel Street. We purchased this property in 2015. We have completed extensive renovations to that home. We love our old ranch in amongst all the Victorians. So as we mentioned, there's 2 lots included in this application, and we'll be talking about them together as Robin did. So the larger lot that's just over 4,200 square feet, the proposed larger lot with the existing home, and then lot B2, which is the proposed lot at the back of the property, which would be just over 2,000 square feet. So as I think folks are aware, this existing single style ranch home was built in the early 60s. It's on a slab foundation. It's got this detached single car garage and this old laundry building out back. We're proposing to subdivide off the detached single car garage and laundry building, subdivide off that part of the property and build a single shotgun at the back of the home, or at the back of the lot. And this would be a Victorian style home that would be consistent with the homes fronting Robert. And we believe it will enhance the neighborhood. Of note, why are we doing this? We've looked at other options on how we can increase square footage, living space. And, we've looked at renovating the garage and the laundry room. We've looked at camelbacking the existing house, and we've looked at this option. And we truly believe this is the best option for the property as well as the neighborhood. Of note, it doesn't look like the pictures were included as part of this application, and they were included in the application, but we did not see them in the report. And we do believe that those are an important element, and that, the old adage of a picture's worth 1,000 words very much holds true. We also understand that architecture is not necessarily considered a style. It is not a special circumstance. But in our opinion, it's an important element to consider in this review. And that again, those old dwellings on B2, they do not add historical value to this area. And, that includes aesthetics as well as the use of the property. So a couple of points that on the variances in question here. In regard to the rear yard setback, while the existing home on lot B1, the old ranch, will not meet that 15-foot setback criteria, it will result in a deficit. This is still a very sizable lot. It's over 4,200 square feet. And we would like the zoning board to note that the side yard, which technically now would become the front yard, because we would basically be the front of the house would technically become Robert Street. That existing side yard is 25 feet from the property line. And what is the front yard now, which will become the side yard, is 15 feet wide. So we have a lot of green space on the lot. I think it shows very well on the corner, and that will not at all be compromised with this zoning change or subdivision. In regards to the matter of the variance to the lot depth, with our proposal, we believe we are asking for something that other homeowners in the area have realized and have been afforded. And indeed, it's quite a common element on existing properties in the area. So we understand the study area. We understand it's defined as these 9 blocks. But if you really look closely at that, including the 4 that are immediately adjacent to us, there are a considerable number of lots with insufficient setback. And, I think it's important also to note that, this is part of what makes our city, each and every block, so unique and appealing. So in closing, what we'd like to say is that we appreciate this review. We respectfully request our ability to upgrade our property with the addition of this Victorian style shotgun home. Our goal is to create something that is historically congruent with the surrounding homes. And we are very much interested and dedicated to the preservation of our neighborhood. With that, understanding this will be a new home, our goal is to work with architectural design and incorporate this properly. So it's very much consistent, well integrated with other homes in the neighborhood. Again, we don't plan to alter existing green space. We appreciate the historical value of the neighborhood. I think it's also important to note that if we were looking to maximize financial gain, we would do like a lot of others do and simply tear everything down and build two houses on that lot. And again, we would lose our quirky ranch style home and we would reduce a lot of green space. So final note is that, again, when we first started this process, we truly did not feel we were asking for anything that is inconsistent with the configuration of other properties in this area and that others have been afforded. So thank you again for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members?
Are the plans included?
No, the BZA application did not include any plans, any building plans.
Yeah, so we're still at stage 1 and we are very much working ahead on that. We are kind of dreaming and trying to understand what we would do. We've also talked to our neighbors, but we'd be happy to submit those at the appropriate time.
Only, I know while we're just dealing primarily with, application is more tied to minimum lot depth. But when we get into this minimum rear yard, my concern is it's based off a hypothetical and not really having something to really give us a driver to understand how we get into that second component. So I find it hard to really review it without some level of clarity about it, unless go ahead.
I might be able to clear that up. The rear setback deficiency that will result from the reversal of lot frontage, that refers to the house that's already there. That's the corner lot, if they subdivide it, the lot frontage will go from being Laurel Street to being on Robert Street. The house isn't gonna, the house isn't gonna move, but all of a sudden that interior side property boundary that exists now will become the rear property boundary.
Okay, my apologies.
No problem.
If I may add to that, so to your point, Todd, it's, the house is still going to look like it sits as 5,000 Laurel, and what's, technically the front becomes Robert, I guess, because of the ratios of the two sizes.
Right.
But again, that green space will be maintained on the new proposed house on lot B2. We would meet that 15-foot setback, of course. And we've looked at kind of the overall size. We've looked at, we're not looking at putting a big double-story home on there. We're looking at putting possibly a small camelback, but with a really, again, consistent front face to the other houses in the area. And again, if there's a means or a way to pull up some of the pictures, I think it really would help.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? You kind of answered. I was going to ask about the original site and just trying to confirm, again, not seeing everything in front of me. I wasn't sure if the original building was staying or not. It wasn't crystal clear at first, but I understand now that it is. So this would be building an additional property, an additional building on the subdivided property.
That's correct. And a note, there is a small section of the existing house that will have to move a short section of wall about 2 feet in order to meet the what would be required to take it off the property line. I think it's fair to say we want this to look like it fully belongs, and that when somebody drives by, they're never going to know that this was subdivided and that it looks like it was shoehorned in there. That's very much our intent, and again, keeping our neighbors happy as well.
Are there any other questions from board members? I wasn't sure if, I know both Todd and Matt are off mute. I wasn't sure if you were still thinking.
I'm okay for now. Let's just, at least from my standpoint, I could wait till we come back to it.
Good.
Okay. All right, we can go to the next item.
Thank you. So the last two are also in conjunction with the same subdivision case. Those are items 13 and 14, BZA dockets 02022 and 02122. The board may wish to consolidate.
All right, Todd James, so move.
For the second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Rufo to consolidate BZA dockets 020-22 and 021-22 into one item. Roll call vote. Todd James.
Yes.
Tamara Eggins.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Matthew Rufo.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest. Yes. 6 yeas, no nays. The motion carries and the items are now consolidated.
Thank you. And this is for the property at 1716 and 1718 General Ogden Street. We have Becca Hurst signed up to speak on behalf of this application, and following this staff presentation, you will have 5 minutes to present.
So yeah, as stated, these are adjacent lots. It's a request for variances from the provisions of Article 11, Section 11.3A1, Table 11-2A, in conjunction with Subdivision Docket 16121 to permit the construction of a single-family residence with insufficient lot width on these two lots. The applicants propose subdividing the existing 2 lots of record into 3 new lots, proposed lots 22A, 23A1, and 23A2. Two of the three lots, lots 23A1 and 23A2, will have insufficient lot width, the subject of both BZA 2022 and BZA 2122. The proposed lot width will be 27.9 feet with a required width of 30 feet, necessitating a waiver of 2.1 feet. We found that the requested waivers meet all 9 standards for approval in Article 4, and therefore we recommend approval, subject to the 3 standard provisos.
Thank you, Rebecca Hurst. You have 5 minutes to present.
Sure. Good morning, board members. Rebecca Hurst with Sherman Strategies, 800 Roan Street, on behalf of the property owner. First, I'd like to thank Aspen for the report and the recommendation of approval. I'm not going to repeat everything Aspen said, but as she said, the purpose of this request is to accommodate a re-subdivision to create 3 lots out of an existing 2 vacant lots. One of the lots will be maintained in compliance, and these 2 necessitate a small waiver for lot width. It is important to note that since this lot is already so large, it's 150 foot deep, the rest of the bulk and yard standards will be met and will be compliant in all other regards. Also, I just want to note that there are other properties in the vicinity, including on this same block, with insufficient lot width. As Aspen said, it meets all 9 criteria, so we respectfully ask for your support.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, we can go to the next item.
Well, this concludes the presentation of dockets. The board will now recess for 30 minutes, and consideration of dockets, including public comments, will begin after the recess. Please refer to the screen for the public comment rules, and public comments will be accepted until the close of the recess. Would the board consider a motion to recess for 30 minutes?
I'll make a for that, but let's at least go to for noon. At least give us till 12 o'clock on the dot.
Alfonso, second.
It's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Gonzalez, to go into recess, returning at 12 noon. Roll call vote. Todd James.
Yes.
Tamara Eggins.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Matthew Rufo.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest. Yes. 6 yeas, no nays. The motion carries. We're now in recess.
you. This concludes the presentation of dockets. The board will now, I'm sorry, I'm like way in the wrong spot again. Would the board consider a motion to return from recess?
Tamara Egan, so moved.
And Todd James, second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Eggins, second by Commissioner James to return from recess. Roll call vote. Todd James,
Yes.
Tamara Eggins,
Yes.
Jose Alvarez,
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez,
Yay.
Matthew Rufo, and Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yays, no nays. The motion carries. We're back from recess.
Thank you. The public comment forum is now closed, and we will begin with the consideration of dockets and the public comment portion of the meeting. Docket number 00422 was withdrawn, and we'll begin with new business for variances. The next item is BZA docket 00922 for the property at 2518 Arch Street. This is a request for variances to permit the addition to an existing primary educational facility resulting in insufficient front yard setback and insufficient front build 2 lines. As a reminder to the board, the staff recommendation is for denial. There were no comments received for this item.
And Chairwoman, please note my recusal.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Thanks. Are there any additional questions or comments from board members? Is there a motion?
Motion to move to return from recess.
Oh, you're a few
Now we're
minutes.
done.
You're a few minutes
Did I miss
behind
that?
that.
Where are we?
We're
Someone else
on
motion.
the first item, docket 009-22.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
But I'm sure if a motion is in order.
Yes, proceed.
In regard to docket BZA 009-22I, Jose Alvarez moved to approve the request of the waiver of the articles 11 section 11.3A1 front yard setback and front yard setback, and article 11 section 11.3.8.2 front yard build to line. Accepting the applicant's explanation and including the proviso outlined by the city in the previous section of the meeting as it relates to the restriction of the site.
Alfonso, second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Alvarez, second by Commissioner Gonzalez to grant the requested waivers of Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1, Table 11.2A for front yard setbacks on North Durgeois and Law Streets, and Article 11, Section 11.3.8.2 for front yard build 2 line on North Durgeois and Law Streets, finding that the 9 criteria have been met and adopting the applicant's communication in support of establishment of the 9 criteria and subject to 1 proviso. Roll call vote. Jose Alvarez,
Yes.
Tamara Eggins,
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez,
Yay.
Matthew Rufo,
Yes.
Candace Forrest, yes. 5 yays, no nays. The motion carries. Next item.
The next item is, oh goodness. The public comments just popped up on my screen. I'm trying to get them off. Okay. All right, the next item is BZA docket 01022 for the property at 4144 through 4146 Bienville Avenue. This request is for variances to permit the construction of a fence with excessive height This is an after the fact request, and as a reminder to the board, the staff recommendation is for denial. There were no public comments received.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members? I did want to just get some clarity, I guess, from staff. I know that one of the comments was related to the process after Hurricane Ida in terms of permitting. I don't know who would be the.
Yeah, I can take that. So.
Oh, thank you. I don't think you were on when we had this one come
Yeah,
up earlier.
I'm sorry I missed the initial presentation. I had some unexpected car issues. So safety and permits immediately after Hurricane Ida did suspend the fees for certain permits, but did not suspend the requirement for permits, immediately post-storm. For this application for a fence, safety and permits told me that they don't require permits anyway for fences.
But the requirements for particular areas would still need to be met in terms of the fence height.
That's correct. And I think that's why safety and permits still required a permit, just to ensure that everything was complying with the proper codes. So.
Any other questions or comments from board members?
Just to kind of quickly reinforce that point, I mean, that even applies to roofs. I know the city does the same thing for roof repairs and replacements after an event. So this is just kind of still falling in accordance with what has been standard procedure, but people are still responsible to research whatever the code requirements are for whatever work they intend to perform.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll go ahead and jump in.
Proceed.
With regards to BZA docket 010-22, my motion is to accept the staff's recommendation, understanding that the 9 criteria have not been met. 7 of the 9 were not met, and move for denial.
Alvarez,
second.
I think I heard Commissioner James. It's been moved by Commissioner James, and I think seconded by Commissioner Alvarez. I heard first to uphold the staff's recommendation, finding that the 9 criteria have not been met with regard to the requested waiver of Article 21, Section 21.6.n.1a for fence height, finding that the 9 criteria have not been met. Roll call vote. Todd James.
Yes.
Tamara Eggins.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Matthew Rufo.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest. Yes. 6 yeas, no nays. The motion carries. Next item.
Thank you. The next item is BZA docket 1122 for the property at 2209 St. Bernard Avenue. This request is for variances to permit the construction of a single-family residence with insufficient off-street parking. As a reminder to the board, the staff recommendation is for approval subject to 2 provisos. There were no public comments received for this item.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments from board members?
Is the motion in order?
Yes, proceed.
Madam Chair, I, Todd James, move to accept the staff's recommendation for BZA number 011-22. As mentioned, accepting the staff's report and move for approval with the 2 noted provisos. Sorry, I was just checking to make sure I didn't miss that. I saw those extra bullets at the bottom. My apologies.
You're good.
in accordance with the request as mentioned. Thank you.
Alfonso, second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 011-22, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Gonzalez to grant the requested waiver, finding that the 9 criteria have been met as it relates to Article 22, Section 22.4.A, Table 22.1 for off-street vehicle and bicycle parking requirements, subject to 2 provisos. Todd James,
Yes.
Tamara Eggins,
Yes.
Jose Alvarez,
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez,
Yay.
Matthew Rufo,
Yes.
and Candace Forrest, yes. 6 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
Thank you. The next item, docket 1222 for the property at 722 Washington Avenue. This is a request for a variance to permit the construction of a second principal structure with insufficient interior side yard setback. As a reminder to the board, the staff recommendation is for a 30-day deferral. There were no public comments received for this item.
Are there any additional questions or comments from board members?
So motion in order.
Yes, proceed.
Madam Chair, in regards to BZA docket number 012-22, my motion is for a 30-day deferral at the request of staff and confirmed by the applicant. I, Todd James, move.
Tamara, second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 012-22, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Eggins, to defer the matter 30 days at the request of the staff and confirmed by applicant. Roll call vote, Todd James,
Yes.
Tamara Eggins,
Yes.
Jose Alvarez,
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez,
Yay.
Matthew Rufo,
Yes.
and Candace Forrest, yes. 6 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
Yeah, the next item is BZA docket 1322 for the property at 412 New Orleans Hammond Highway. This request is for variances to permit a circular drive with a parking space located in the required minimum front yard on a lot with insufficient width and more than 1 curb cut. As a reminder to the board, the staff recommendation is for approval subject to 3 provisos, and there were no public comments received for this item.
Are there any additional questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll give a motion, but beforehand, I'll give, I know sometimes y'all pick on me when I mention this, but I've been along that stretch on my bike and almost been hit by people pulling out their driveway. So I truly appreciate what they're trying to address with this one. So with that, my motion for BZA docket number 013-22 is to accept the staff's recommendation for the requested waiver of Article 22, Section 22.11B1 for curb cut, Article 22, Section 22.11.B12 for circular driveway, Article 22, Section 22.11B1A1 curb cuts, circular drive, parking space in front yard, and Article 22, Section 22.11B1A3, curb cuts, circular drive lot width. As I mentioned, move for approval with the 3 noted provisos.
Tamara, second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 013-22, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Eggins, to grant the requested waivers, finding that the 9 criteria have been met, subject to 3 provisos. Roll call vote, Todd James,
Yes.
Tamara Eggins,
Yes.
Jose Alvarez,
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez,
Yay.
Matthew Rufo,
Yes.
and Candace Forrest, yes. 6 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
The next item is BZA docket 01422 for the property at 2505 Washington Avenue and 2725 Barrett Street. This request is for variances to permit the construction of a childcare center with insufficient off-street parking. As a reminder to the board, the staff recommendation is for a 30-day deferral. And we do have
Valerie, if I could just interject, the staff recommendation is for denial.
denial. I'm sorry, and I for some reason had that on here. You're right. I remember that now. Thank you. We do have public comments received for this item. Just a moment. Okay, the first comment is in support of the application from Dina Duckin at 7240 West Tamarind Boulevard. Quality learning for our kids is much more important than parking issues. Please do the right thing for our children respectfully. The next comment is in support of the application from Alex Reed, 2618 Barone Street. I support. The next comment is in support of the application from Lorena Rogers, 3319 Huntley Drive, NOLA 70131, to have high quality learning center in that area with the state of the art equipment is a must. The next comment is in support of the application, Michelle Johnson, 2413 St. Matthew's Circle, Violet, Louisiana 70083. I believe this is an excellent opportunity for this area. Parking is needed for parents and teachers. In support of this application, Marcia Gaspard, 4311 Bancroft Drive, New Orleans, Louisiana 70112. I support Wilcox Academy parking variance. I am currently an employee as well. The next comment is in support of the application, Zion Wilcox, 1716 7th Street. We support Wilcox Academy parking variance. High quality, affordable learning is our community. In our community far outweighs the need for more parking. Wilcox Academy is an amazing institution that provides exceptional education for our young leaders of New Orleans. The next comment is in support of the application, Tabitha Bell, 10501 Curran Boulevard, apartment 2W, New Orleans, Louisiana 70127. I support it. The next comment is in support of the application, Kenyatta Domino, Parkins, 2019 Simon Bolivar Avenue. Good morning, my name is Kenyatta Domino Parkins. I'm the director of Wilcox Academy, Central City, located in the heart of Central City community. I am in support of Wilcox Academy parking variance. I need the need for high quality childcare in this community far outweighs the need for more parking. This variance should be approved. The next comment is in support of the application, Rochelle Wilcox, 1716 7th Street, New Orleans, Louisiana 70115. Hello, my name is Rochelle Wilcox, and I'm the owner and executive director of Wilcox Academy of Early Learning. We currently have 3 learning centers in the greater New Orleans area, all of which are rated high proficient centers by Louisiana Department of Education. Since 2006, we have served over 1,200 children and families through our mission to provide high quality care for our youngest and most vulnerable children and their families. We do this by making sure our student population consists of 65% children below poverty line who would otherwise not be able to afford our services. Our community partnerships with LSU Human Development Center, Early Head Start Program, New Orleans City SEAT Program, and Boys Town, Louisiana Early Head Start Program. When we purchased the lot located at 2505 Washington Avenue, it was the vision to provide a beautiful building that will beacon in the Central City community and learning center of yes, where our children learn and grow in a loving environment. We'll be able to serve over 100 children and families in this poverty-stricken community that will help change these families' trajectory for generations. 20 parking spaces will impact the community, and this is the reason we're asking for the variance. The next comment is in support of the application. Whitman Wilcox, 2020 First Street. We need quality childcare in the central city. This center will benefit our community. Next comment is in support of the application. Carolina Amanda, 4528 South Roman Street, 70125 NA. In support of the application, Melanie Borg, 6143 Mine Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70124. The need for high quality, affordable childcare in this community far outweighs the need for more parking and concrete paving. The next comment is in support of the application. Felicia Brown, 200 Carondelet, 1101. Education around the world, especially in our great city, New Orleans, plays a major role in the lives of our youths. Therefore, having as much space as needed for general learning experiences is highly appreciated. We have so many plans for our students as it relates to learning centers, classrooms, outdoor centers, etc. The community offers several on-street parking areas, which is great for the staff and visitors. The next comment is in support of the application. Shelby Lynn, 3941 Chapatulas. The need for quality and affordable childcare is far more important than having more parking and paving, which is not only detrimental to the neighborhood character, but also comes with negative environmental impacts. Unrealistic and unhelpful parking requirements should not take importance over providing essential community services. The next comment is in support of the application. Trinity Moore, 12345 I-10 Service Road, apartment 2711. Education is very important to Wilcox Academy, and we want to provide as much space as possible for our students to be comfortable in their classroom. Parking spots will take up the space we need, and I'm in support of not having the parking spaces. The next comment is in support of the application. Cheyenne Walker, 5501 Christian Lane, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70126. I support Wilcox Academy's parking variance. High quality, affordable learning in our community far outweighs the need for more parking. The next comment is in support of this application. Joanne Minor, 1712 Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard, New Orleans, 70113. I would like to express support for Wilcox Academy's request for a parking waiver. A childcare facility will be an asset to this neighborhood, and the owner has gone out of her way to reach out to neighbors and show good faith in serving the community. I expect many of the children who attend Wilcox will come from the neighborhood, meaning the reduced parking availability will have an overly negative effect. Will not have an overly negative effect. Please join me in supporting this project. Thank you. The next comment is in support of the application. Melissa Lee, 1024 Creek Street. I'm in support of the parking variance requested for Wilcox Academy Early Learning Center in Central City. High quality, affordable childcare in this community far outweighs the need for more parking and concrete paving. The next comment is in support of the application. Michelle Berry Springens, 7640 Hickman Street, representing Wilcox Academy. The greater need in our community is to enhance the minds of our next generation. Wilcox Academy meets and exceeds the need and supports the children to reach their full potential. Additional parking is a temporary fix, whereas adding additional education in our community will have a lasting impact on our children and the families benefiting for our decisions today. My vote is not to add additional parking, but to increase the power of education. The next comment is in support of the application. Pamela DeVezin, 2112 Laperouse, New Orleans, Louisiana 70119. I support another alternative for education and childcare for more than I would another parking option. The availability of quality care is scarce, and parents, children, and the community at large would greatly benefit from your approval. The next comment is in support of the application. Rhonda Bailey, 5540 Holly Lane. I support Wilcox Academy parking variance. High quality, affordable learning education is a greater need for a community, not more parking. The next comment is in support of the application. Taylor Scott, 2606 St. Louis Street, New Orleans, Louisiana 70119. The zoning ordinance seems like it needs to be adjusted to allow for the community demand for affordable childcare over additional parking. It also sounds like the Wilcox project team has done their due diligence in determining the demands and needs of the community affordable childcare. Sharing existing parking spots and using off-street parking spaces seems like a logical solution. The next comment is in support of the application from Zachary Free, 2514 Washington Avenue. The neighborhood would greatly benefit from Wilcox Academy and the service it provides children. There is ample parking on the street, and space for drop-off/pickup would not create a burden on the community. The next comment is in support of the application. Laura Monzos, 801 Race Street, fully supports this variance request as in this neighborhood is fully support this variance request as this neighborhood is in great need of childcare, of a childcare center such as the one proposed, and there is plenty of off-street parking available to use. The next comment is in support of the application. Zachary Banks, 3214 Laurel Street, New Orleans, Louisiana. It seems unnecessary to mandate so much parking. There is plenty of parking around the site, and mandating this much would break such positive project for the community. It would be a shame to ruin the project by putting concrete everywhere. The next comment is in opposition of the application. Teresa Solomon, 4834 Bright Drive. Parking is not important. What we really need is childcare, and I believe this one is in support of the application and not opposition. And that's the end of the comments for this item. So we didn't actually have opposition, so we don't need to do a rebuttal.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments from board members?
Just one other comment, from the conversation earlier with regards to moving parking, or at least trying to see if there's access parking on those other two projects with the community center and the school. Only point of apprehension I have really on that one is considering those schools and their ability, considering the school, let's start with that one, their ability to expand at a later date. Let's try to keep that into consideration that if anything, let's not take away development rights from other property, those two other properties, considering this is all part of a larger ecosystem for that neighborhood. So between the early childhood center potentially coming, the school site there, plus that community center, that's all one big system, and I'm not even including A.L. Davis Park. So just with consideration for all of those things in the mix, this seems to be a pretty good application. I would also just point everyone's attention to some of the comments within the staff report, especially with criteria 1. they did acknowledge, while the staff may have not agreed at that point, but they did acknowledge some of the information from the applicant's letter addressing the limitations of that site. And again, one other thing, every square foot we take away to put a parking spot in on that parcel, you lose the ability to serve another kid at that site. So while I understand we're looking at this purely from within a CZO, I think we have to still have some level of understanding and appreciation of the services being provided and how this works within a greater project. If this was a one-off deal within a residential neighborhood and there's no other commercial or institutional properties surrounding it to help offset where parking demand would really be impacted, I think this is still a fairly good application.
Yeah, Todd, and I do kind of also agree with you, but also the overwhelming sort of support from the neighborhood only tells me that this is something that they really need, and the consequences of not maybe having parking are not a priority for that neighborhood. So.
One question just to the applicant, because I did notice, and I don't think we talked about it when we were discussing it earlier, but staff did include some proposed provisos in the event that the item was recommended for approval. And I just wanted to make sure that the applicant, not to say which way this may go, but just to make sure that you had actually reviewed those provisos and had no questions or concerns related to those.
Yes, absolutely. We're okay with accepting the provisos.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions or comments from board members?
Is a motion in order?
Yes, proceed.
Madam Chair, I, Todd James, move to accept this application for BZA 014-22 and move for approval of the requested waiver for Article 22, Section 22.4A, Table 22-1 for off-street vehicle parking requirements, and to address and accepting the comments as provided by the applicant, as well as what I did provide as an explanation to support criteria 1 and 6, particularly with criteria 1, accepting what was in the staff's, what was in the applicant's letter. More particularly to criteria 6, while it may not establish while it may not result in a demonstrable hardship as we traditionally look at this, the hardship does exist where services to be provided on a site would be substantially reduced, and at the end of the day, have a grave impact on the neighboring community. So with that, I move for approval and accepting the 8 recommended provisos that staff gave us in the report.
Albert seconds.
Thank you. With regard to BZA docket 014-22, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Alvarez, to grant the requested waiver of Article 22, Section 22.4.A, Table 22.1 for off-street vehicle and bicycle parking requirements, finding that the 9 criteria have been met, adopting the applicant's letter in support of establishment of the 9 criteria, along with the dialogue from today's meeting, also in support of establishment of the 9 criteria, and subject to 8 provisos. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yes.
Tamara Eggins.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Matthew Rufo.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest, yes. 6 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
All right, just a moment, sorry. Okay, the next item is BCA docket 01522 for the property at 4046 through 4048 Chef Mentor Highway. This request is for variances to permit the construction of a gas station with insufficient front yard setback and insufficient front yard build to line. As a reminder to the board, the staff recommendation is for a 30-day deferral. And we do not have any public comments received for item number 8.
Are there any other questions or comments from board members related to BZA docket 015-22? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion's in order.
Yes, proceed.
Madam Chair, I, Ty James, move to grant the 30-day deferral for BZA docket number 015-22 per the direction of staff.
Tamara, second.
Alfonso, second.
Thank you. With regard to BZA docket 015-22, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Gonzalez, to defer the matter 30 days at the request of staff. Roll call vote, Todd James,
Yes.
Tamara Eggins,
Yes.
Jose Alvarez,
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez,
Yay.
Matthew Rufo,
Yes.
and Candace Forrest, yes. 6 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
Thank you. And during the half of the meeting, the board voted to consolidate items 9 and 10, BZA dockets 01622 and 01722 for the property at 1839 Louisa Street. This request is for variances in conjunction with subdivision docket 002-22 to permit the creation of a lot with insufficient lot area and insufficient lot depth. The staff recommendation was for approval subject to 3 provisos. There are no public comments received for either item.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from board members related to items 9 and 10? Seeing none, is there a motion?
All right, sorry about that. Madam Chair, for motions in order.
Yes, proceed.
Madam Chair, I, Ty James, move to accept the staff's recommendation for both BZA docket number 016-22 and 017-22 and move for approval with the 3 noted provisos for each.
So Matt Rufo, I'll second that.
All right, thank you. With regards to BZA dockets 016-22 and 017-22 consolidated, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Rufo, to grant the requested waivers as it relates to Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1, Table 11.2A for lot area and lot depth, finding that the 9 criteria have been met and subject to 3 provisos. Roll call vote, Todd James,
Yes.
Tamara Eggins,
Yes.
Jose Alvarez,
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez,
Yay.
Matthew Rufo,
Yes.
and Candace Forrest, yes. 6 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
Thank you. The next items are BZA dockets 018-22 and 019-22, which were also consolidated during the first half of the meeting for the property located at 5000 Laurel Street and 632 Robert Street. This request is for variances in conjunction with subdivision docket 160-21 to permit the creation of a lot with insufficient lot depth and insufficient rear yard setback. And I do believe we have public comments for this one.
No public comments for that one.
No, okay, it's the next 2. All right, I'm sorry about that. So no public comments received and no rebuttal.
And if I could direct the board to their emails, we just sent an email. Some photos that had been included with the application were erroneously left out of the packet that was sent out on Wednesday or Thursday morning. So I'd like you, the applicant brought that to our attention.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments from board members?
Just to acknowledge receipt that we did get, I at least received that, the images. Only concern I have is, again, I think just kind of coming back to the staff's report, but more importantly, one of the key drivers in this creates a financially beneficial opportunity for the applicant just to subdivide this property, and to create a second residence here. Just I kind of have a moment for pause when it's occurring in that nature, especially when there's a viable structure that already exists on the site. And just a quick question to staff. If this was even granted, wouldn't they need to then come back and provide required off-street parking, things of that nature for the smaller parcel that they would have created at the corner?
Yeah. If they go ahead and move forward with the smaller dwelling that they want to put on proposed lot B2, they would have to submit plans. They'd go through the usual thing of submitting them to safety and permits. And if anything about that lot or that project didn't meet setbacks or what have you, they'd have to come back before you guys.
And there's an off-street parking requirement for this neighborhood?
Yes, for single family dwellings, yes, unless the lot is less than 30 feet wide.
Yeah, and it appears, if I could jump in, since this lot would only be 30 feet, they would be exempt from the requirement because it applies for 30 feet or less.
Oh. And that's only for the smaller lot that they would be creating?
Correct.
Okay.
For B1, I believe the regulation is that 40% of properties on the block face don't have parking, and that would also be exempt.
Okay. So just trying to check to make sure that we're not saying we're about to, I'm just speaking, if we were to approve it, would this then necessarily create further waivers down the road with consideration that everything necessarily hasn't been presented to us just yet, especially with the intent of how they wanted to develop the B2 lot? I have no further comments, Chairman.
Yeah, it took a minute for my file to open up, but I did kind of tie to your initial comments, Commissioner James. I was also looking at the demonstrable hardship response from the applicant, which was why I was asking the initial question. The way that the response was phrased, it seemed as though they were building a new structure to replace the original structure. So that's why I had some confusion about what was actually going to be taking place. So I kind of echo the same thoughts in light of the fact that this is a second structure that would be built. So it wouldn't be the replacement of the initial structure.
And Madam Chair, I know that we didn't have any comments in opposition. I did see the applicant at least raise his hand. So I don't know if you want.
Oh, I didn't see that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. Just tag team. So I don't know if the applicant wanted to provide further comments, if you could keep it brief.
Absolutely. And again, very much appreciate the comments and the the reflections from the board on this. I think if you look at the overall size of this lot, it is not uncommon to have two homes on it. And indeed, obviously, there's a lot of duplexes, including that one you see there on the left. I'm looking at the picture. We are, I think part of what we're looking at is increasing, living space in this area. So yeah, we potentially stand to gain to some degree, but we are also creating reasonable housing in this area, which, in my mind is a lot more affordable than some of the homes that go up in the area. I would also say that off-street parking, I know it's something we absolutely need to consider. In our corner, we really don't see a lot of issue with it. I have neighbors that park in front of our home. The people across the street on Robert, they have a fair amount of space. Quite often we'll park in front of or beside their place. it really doesn't seem to be an issue, of course, other than during special events like Mardi Gras. But again, the square lot is very big, and in my mind, very consistent with the neighborhood is having two properties on a lot of this size.
So something to consider, because you just brought this up about, because you're mentioning the double next door to you.
Yes.
In some context. One thing I'll strongly suggest to you to consider, your current zoning allows for you to have a two-family residence.
Right.
So you're trying to extend something within that realm. Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, the opportunity for you to add on and have a second unit is a allowable precedent for you to follow without having to re-subdivide the lot into two singular lots of record. So that's, if you're going to try to, if that's the merit that you want to provide, the zoning provides for you a different mechanism to do what you're intending to propose. Would you agree with that, Emily?
Give me 1 second. I'm just.
Yeah, sorry about that. And I know this was more Robin's report. My apologies.
No apologies needed. It takes a village.
So
that's fine.
And that's the thing. That's just the first thing I see. So I'm always going to default back to what the underlying zoning provides for. And if you have the ability to build a double on a lot or add on to your structure and actually do a second unit attached, that can be a rental unit. If you wanted to separate it for condo, I don't know how that would work. But at least the provision is there that two-family residential exists for your lot as it's currently configured.
And Todd, to answer your question, as far as lot area for the current lot configuration of lot B, that would allow for two-family development on the site. So as long as any proposed addition, meets the setback requirements, meets the off-street parking requirement, because, the lot would be about 86 feet in width. They would not be exempt from, I don't believe they would be exempt from the parking requirement unless that 40% of other single and two-family developments on the block face are developed without off-street parking. So yes, as long as all the other zoning requirements are met, the underlying zoning allows for two-family.
Right. And just further clarity to the applicant, when we talk about additional unit inside your existing lot, that's not two primary residents. That would have to be two units connected. So just want to make sure we give clarity to that part as well.
Yeah, and I guess I'm receiving some notes from my counsel, my dear wife beside me, but part of our issue with not subdividing the lot is that we believe down the road it will create some burden on us even from a financial side, that then we really tie our hands, and if we did want to sell one of them and keep the other one, that would completely rule out that option. So it is a very conscious decision. It is some work, as we recognize, to move that one wall in the existing house. If we didn't have to do that, we certainly wouldn't want to. But we truly believe that this is the best thing for the property, and it's the best thing for the neighborhood, and it will provide additional residences in this area. And, I think that's something we all, we would all strive for, as opposed to this little garage in a driveway.
So and I'm gonna just point you to one last item. So just within the 9-point criteria, we have to meet all 9. Okay. Yes. So get into that part of the conversation. I'm gonna put emphasis on criteria 7. This is
financial.
Correct. So financial benefit. So you would then be creating two subsufficient lots that you would be able to parcel off and then sell, which turns into monetary gain or profit. So that's just one thing. Like, even if we were to work our way through all 9 criteria, just based on everything being presented, criteria 7 still isn't met. So it just makes a hardened burden for us as board members, at least from my perspective.
Well,
as a
and
voter.
And I very much respect your comment. I think, it's fair to say we're not going to do something that doesn't have some benefit to us. We're not going to spend money on something that doesn't help us in some way and give us some options down the road. But having said that, we have also seen other applicants that have gone through that it's clear it has some potential upside for the owners. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to be in a game where we're going to be losing money on it. That's absolutely.
And just to clarify that point, there's a difference between some benefit and the way that the criteria reads is that it's exclusive benefit. So there is a distinction there. So yes, there may be situations where there's ultimately some benefit to the owner, but when it's exclusively for the benefit of the owner, that's a different distinction. And so that's why this is being brought up in regards to your particular application. Obviously, there are times where there may be some inherent benefit, but when it's exclusively for the benefit of the owner, that's what the distinction is.
Okay.
There is a public benefit though to providing more housing. I mean, I think that there's a point to be made about the benefit of providing more housing supply in areas where there's high demand. And so for that reason, I don't know, I'm not convinced that this would be exclusively for the benefit of the property owner. I mean, it seems like in other situations that we've taken closer consideration when there's a proposed design involved for the actual construction. Is it worthwhile to defer this so that that design can materialize and develop such that it obviates other issues?
I think that's an argument to be made, but to get back to your first point, and not to go back and forth on things, but what we have to be mindful of is what our decision is for the waivers. We're not deciding on providing additional housing. We're deciding on the specific waivers that are being requested. So when we're making the analysis is on the waivers. It's not on providing additional housing. So I understand your point that there's a public benefit to that, but that's not what I'm trying to make sure we're clear on what we're reviewing and not taking away. There's always a positive to have more housing, but what we're looking at is specific waivers related to lot area and lot depth. So it's not specific to providing additional housing.
Right. It's not
that's
like
sort of a secondary thing that's going to happen by granting these waivers.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt, I agree. It's always it's a valid point, but again, much to the chairwoman's position, it's, chairwoman's description of it, not position. Can't speak for you. We get back down to if the lot was separated, they could just sell the lot as is, right? And then someone else could purchase that property. Exactly. So it gets into, and we've seen this with so many projects when we get into some of the other future development, when we get into some of these other development concepts, we now create a lot, someone can build that house is now being built as a flip or for profit, and it just really kind of falls, the dominoes fall from there. So it's just kind of one of those one-off situations. But if we were dealing with something in a different capacity, when we're dealing with units and the number of units and affordability metrics tied to that becomes a different conversation versus in this case, we're strictly just creating a lot without any concept of what's going on it. So it really just pushes it more to the earlier part, just to the profit.
But the part about, and also not knowing, I do think that there's some point to be made with not knowing ultimately what's going on the lot. My concern is that we don't know what might ultimately need to be waived by once something is actually designed to be put there. So there is that sort of conceptual argument that we're kind of just going off of a concept. But I think even before you get to the building, these initial requests are problematic.
Well, and we have to trust that that next part of the process will take care of that as well, right? And you know, again, to the comments, we're talking about the lot here. Absolutely, we could subdivide this and we could sell the lot. We clearly don't have a history of doing that. If we had, when we bought this house from the guy that had been here pre-Katrina, he wanted us to have it because he knew we weren't going to tear it down and that we were going to do something with it. And you know, we love the city, we love being here, we have no plans to leave. And I understand exactly where you guys are coming from, and that, you know, and people's plans change as well. And it's some of why we brought up what we've done here in Mobile, which was a massive renovation. We worked with the Historic Commission on it, and we end up winning the Renovation of the Year award, which obviously I'm quite proud of. But again, I understand that there's a bit of some unknowns here, and we have to stick to the aspects of the lot. I think our comment is that we are not asking for something that is incongruent with the neighborhood, and also that has not been afforded to others.
Okay. Madam Chair, for motions in order.
Are there any other questions or comments from board members? You can proceed.
And first, I just want to say something to the applicant. So look, I appreciate your patience and being able to present exactly what you intended to do. More often than not, sometimes we'll see someone paint a certain picture and it's really about something else. So I appreciate your genuine intent and being forthcoming with us with the application in terms of what you guys actually wanted to do. So please don't take us in this position in a negative light. You just don't know how much I actually appreciate the honesty with this. So Madam Chair, with that, I, Todd James, move to accept the staff's recommendation for BZA docket number 018-22 and move to deny the request for Article 11, Section 11-3A1, Table 11-2A for minimum lot depth, and the same for minimum rear yard. And just one last note to the applicant, this doesn't preclude you from looking at different options of how you may want to deal with the project, but just not this actual application as it's provided to us.
I just want to clarify, because I think you only referenced the first docket number, so just remind me that it's consolidated.
That's right, sorry. BZA docket, so I'm amend my motion for and include BZA docket number 018-22 plus 019-22.
Alfonso, second.
Thank you. With regards to consolidated BZA dockets 018-22 and 019-22, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Gonzalez, to uphold the staff's recommendation, finding that the 9 criteria have not been met and denying the requested waivers of Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1, Table 11-2A for lot depth and rear yard, as well as lot area, for finding that the 9 criteria have not been met. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yes.
Tamara Eggins. She may have stepped away. Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Matthew Rufo.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest. Yes. 5 yeas, no nays. The motion carries. Next item.
The next 2 items, BZA dockets 020-22 and 021-22 for the property at 1716 through 1718 General Ogden Street were also consolidated. These requests are for variances in conjunction with SD subdivision docket 161-21 to permit the creation of a lot with insufficient lot width. As a reminder to the board, the staff recommendation is for approval subject to 3 provisos. And we do have public comments for this item. The first commenter would like to provide or request information regarding the application. Betty DeMarco, 8221 Birch Street, New Orleans, Louisiana. Since 2017, I've been working with others from the Landos, Carrollton neighborhood to create more affordable housing. Why isn't the city creating legislation that requires at least one of the proposed subdivision lots at 1716 through 18 General Ogden to be affordable, to be an affordable lot and building perpetually? Many of the vacant lots, perpetuity, sorry. Many of the vacant lots being developed in the area of Carrollton are being bought through tax sales when owners, for numerous reasons, can't afford the property taxes. Why can't the city purchase these tax sales for the much needed affordable housing? Recently, the development company CGH LLC bought property through tax sale in the 8900 block of Jeanette and built a home that's for nearly $5,000. CGH LLC owns the vacant lot at 1726 General Ogden and I feel sure we'll build another $500,000 home. My other question is about the accurate size for 17 is about accurate lot size for 1716 General Ogden through Orleans tax assessor site list. This property is 52 by 150 and there's not 1718 General Ogden. How can these three lots be created? I would also like to see plans for this development before CPC votes to approve the subdivision. And the next comment would also like to provide or request information regarding the application. Susan Johnson, 2822 LaPage Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70119. This is to register my concern about the development at 1716 through 1718 General Ogden. While no plans are currently available for public view, the proposed homes will surely be offered for sale at a market rate in the area that is undergoing rapid gentrification, much to the detriment of the longtime residents of Landos. Though I appreciate that the lots require considerable maintenance, and I am aware of Mr. Galwa's contributions to the historic preservation. Still, the concern remains that generational residents will be priced out and pushed out of the neighborhood. This particular development represents yet another step in the lamentable trend in the historic neighborhoods of New Orleans. Susan Johnson, Town of Carrollton Watch, LLC. And that's the end of the comments. So there wasn't actual opposition. I'm not sure how the board handles questions.
I think we can count that as opposition and allow rebuttal.
Sure, this is Rebecca Hurst here as the applicant, and on behalf of the property owner, I do just want to comment on what they both had to say with regard to affordable housing. We understand the need for affordable housing, and I do want to stress that increasing density and providing for more housing can aid in that process, as opposed to this giant vacant lot that would need to be developed with a potentially larger house on to kind of fit in with the lot size. I will say with regard to having plans, they have not been drawn up yet. This variance was just triggered as a part of the re-subdivision and the creation of a lot that is about 2.1 feet less than the requirement in width. So there are no plans yet, but we're happy to provide them to the neighbors. And I took note of who they are when they are put together.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members?
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, it's the same zoning as the last case. We've got a lot here that you could build a 2-unit property on rather than subdivide into 2 individual lots. Was that considered at all? It's a question for the applicant.
Right. Yes, not to my knowledge. I also just want to stress the difference between the previous applicant and this one is that we and staff have agreed that we do meet the 9 criteria and that this proposed re-subdivision and variance is not, a making of our own making. The lot is too large for the neighborhood and this actually fits better with the development pattern.
Okay, thank you.
And just a real quick question for you, Rebecca. What was on the lot previously? Do we know? I mean, I know it's some time back, but do you have any information?
Yeah, it's been vacant for some time now. In our city planning commission report at the re-subdivision for our preliminary approval at city planning commission for the re-sub, we had some Sanborn maps that were shown and also some research that showed that there was like a tin shop, I want to say. So at one point, some of this property was commercial.
Okay.
And Aspen, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure you did that report too.
Yeah, the Sanborn map showed that it was residential with some like ancillary commercial uses. We didn't completely confirm, but like the Sanborn maps indicated that it was used partially commercial.
I think it said tin shop, and I'm not really sure what that is.
Metal shop.
Metal shop, got it.
Tin roof, anything like that. Light gauge metal, it would have been someone just doing bent metal out of a shop in a driveway or out of a garage. Could have been anything. So look, I actually agree with you, Matt. Like this is very similar to that last one, but in this case, we are dealing with an undeveloped parcel and not a single family residence on it where they're carving out their backyard to sell it off. All right. Or potentially to sell it. I'm not going to accuse those guys of that. So it's a little different. And when we look at just the context of what we have in this case, I think we're dealing with a waiver in one direction as opposed to 2, correct? At least on the first parcel.
Well, I was going to say, because I don't know if it was clear, but this is a subdivision. So these are going to be 2 parcels. I know that was one of the questions that Commissioner Rufo had. So it is 2 parcels, but it is requesting different waivers than what the last one was. So, I mean, I definitely understand they seem similar on paper, but different. I don't know how else to say it.
And I just want to add, this lot is huge. It's 150 feet deep. So even with the re-subdivision, it's still a very large lot.
Mm-hmm. And it's being split down the middle.
It is technically taking 3 feet from 1726 General Ogden, the 33-foot wide lot, and then combining it with this 52-foot wide lot and then dividing in half.
Okay. And that's the point. So it's moving the line to the middle so that you don't have one larger lot to develop on and then one that's, severely insufficient.
Correct. Mm-hmm. The proposal was an effort to have the most closely compliant lots as possible.
Correct. All right, thank you, Rebecca.
So the way I'm reading this is we're not proposing to divide it into 3 lots. We're proposing to re-subdivide it into 2 lots with a different boundary. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
The re-sub request technically involves 3 lots, the creation of 3 lots, but the only 2 subject to variances are the ones in question today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 1 compliant, then split the baby between the 2 remaining lots. But they are actually deeper, correct?
Correct. The 2. Correct.
Yeah. Because the one that's compliant is actually the shallower lot.
Correct.
Okay. All right, Madam Chair, for motions in order.
Are there any other questions? Okay, you can proceed.
Madam Chair, I, Todd James, move to accept the staff's recommendation for both BZA docket numbers 020-22 and 021-22 for the requested waiver of Article 11, Section 11-3A1, Table 11-2A for minimum lot width, where both lots are granting a waiver of 2.1 feet, and move for approval with the 3 noted provisos. Establishing that the 9 criteria have been met, excuse me.
And you did indicate the consolidated items.
Yes, 20 and 21.
Alvarez seconds.
Thank you. With regard to consolidated BZA dockets 020-22 and 021-22, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Alvarez to grant the requested waivers for Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1, Table 11-2A for minimum lot width, finding that the 9 criteria have been met and subject to 3 provisos. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yes.
Tamara Eggins.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Matthew Rufo.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest. Yes. 6 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn? Don't all speak at once.
I was waiting. I thought Alfonso was going to jump all over it. I let it go. I, Todd James, so move for adjournment.
Alfonso second.
It's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Gonzalez to adjourn our meeting. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yes.
Tamara Eggins.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Matthew Rufo.
Yay.
And Candace Forrest, yay. 6 yeas, no nays. The motion carries and our meeting is adjourned. Bye,
Thank you, guys.
everyone.
See y'all
Thank
next
you.
month.